I want Idaho to be a wonderful place for all of us. And this horrible, nasty behavior, it needs to end.
Well, if you spend any amount of time on Idaho's political social media pages, you might be familiar with that man, Greg Graff. He's a conservative activist and considers himself a political consultant, though his most notable branding might be through his years-long defamation battle playing out in real time, both online and now in a courtroom. Latter of which, well, that's come to a close. It's a complicated saga involving former State Representative Chad Christensen, Second Amendment Alliance founder Greg Pruitt, and former Idaho Freedom Foundation Vice President Dustin Hurst. So between a lawsuit and a countersuit, the judge made an anticlimactic decision to infer it's an impasse, which is why we need to bring in Andrew Bartline, who talked to both of these people on both sides of this lawsuit, who actually both support the same solution to frivolous litigation. That would be an anti-SLAPP law.
Yeah, if you're unfamiliar with that, SLAPP stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. Now, this type of lawsuit is meant to be a tool to stop someone from engaging in political conversation or action, not necessarily to hold them accountable for actual defamation. It's a tool to get in an opponent's way, often limiting their speech. And Idaho right now has no anti-SLAPP law, which would allow a defendant to call a SLAPP lawsuit into question and then motion for a judge to dismiss.
Idaho is increasingly part of a minority of states that don't have some statutory mechanism by which people can protect themselves from frivolous lawsuits that are clearly SLAPP. But again, you have to realize there are some legislators who don't think that that's the government's business. Let people hammer this out in civil proceedings. What we're doing here is trying to create legal mechanisms to deal with human problems. But certainly there are also individuals who do not want things said about them when they're, again, involved in the rough and tumble of politics and will file a suit simply as a way to get other people to shut up. The anti-SLAPP mechanism is supposed to prevent the latter.
Interestingly enough, both sides of this specific lawsuit say their opponent filed a SLAPP lawsuit against them. And for background, we'll give you the spark notes. This all relates to a 2020 phone call between Greg Graff and then State Representative Chad Christensen's boss. Her name is Emily Robinson. She's named in this lawsuit as well. Graff told her that Christensen should not be trusted around women, that he has abused his position of power as a lawmaker. Graff even called him a, quote, sexual predator, among other allegations. Robinson recorded that call, and she shared it with Pruitt and Hurst, who then published that conversation online. Christensen then filed the first lawsuit, and he says Graff's words defamed him. Though as a public figure, Christensen has to prove malice and intent to harm in court, of which he did not.
Judge ruled in summary judgment in my favor. Chad Christensen's case was dismissed because it didn't have merit. As we all knew, right? It was a long shot at best in their part. The whole point, in my opinion, was to cause harm and to silence me.
Would you have considered that a SLAPP-type lawsuit where an anti-SLAPP law would have helped you get out of this sooner rather than later?
Absolutely. If we had anti-SLAPP legislation, I would have utilized that probably instead of filing a counterclaim the way I did. That would have been the strategy, and I believe I would have prevailed because of summary judgment.
So it's a win for Graff. Well, no, not really. His countersuit failed as well. He alleged Robinson, Christensen, Pruitt, and Hurst all organized an attack against himself. But the judge ruled that Graff, through his online actions, has also made himself a public figure, at least in a limited capacity relating to Christensen. And in response, Graff had dropped the case as he also sees the writing on the wall.
If we can extract lessons from this and improve public policy so bullies who want to use the legal system to silence their foes can't do this, that's a huge win for all of us. I don't know if Chad's lawsuit was valid or not. The judge didn't see merit for one reason or the other. I do know that Greg's was a waste of time. Is it going to change much about the way I tweet? No, absolutely not. Because I think somebody needs to say the things that a lot of people are thinking. And it was just a huge waste of time when it was all over mean tweets, man. It was all over mean tweets. Don't like my mean tweets? Okay, tweet something mean back at me or explain why my tweets are terrible. Don't sue people over stuff over speech you don't like. It's just a bad practice.
So who defamed who? Well, no one did. Both sides are quick to point to the other and claim their opposition or the opposing lawsuit holds no ground, which is an easy thing to say in hindsight given the judge's decision. But both sides say they support an anti-SLAPP legislation, which in theory could have nipped all this in the bud from the beginning and stopping this from happening, Brian, because as it is, the real winners here would be the lawyers, pulling in money to defend and cast lawsuits for blog posts and mean tweets and defending those in court.
Yep, and meanwhile, the mean tweets, that battle's just going to continue on social media. So if it's in your algorithm, enjoy that. That'll be good. All right, thank you very much for explaining all that, Andrew. We'll see what happens this legislative session.